Today it's time for a professional match of StarCraft 2, and what I've got for you is a Terran versus Zerg on Jagannatha, or the Jag, as a wise man once called it. A very handsome man called it that once upon a time. But anyway, spawning here in the bottom left-hand corner, playing with the blue Terran SCVs, we are looking at none other than souL's main command center. His opponent all the way in the opposite corner, playing with the red Zerg drones, we have none other than Elazer. Now, despite the fact that I don't know how to pronounce this map name very well and I keep forgetting, it doesn't really matter, right? It seems like I've been casting quite a few games on this map recently, and they have all been really good. Obviously, it's the map with the difficult name that's, you know, turning out to be the best macro map in this current season. I mean, I'm not really too surprised over there. But it does seem like this does create some really epic games. I mean, I've casted barely any games, it feels like, whenever the new season started, on Lightshade and on Oxide and a bunch of the other maps that have indeed been added at the same time as this one. Alrighty, so looks like we have a standard opener here so far from both players. No shenanigans here whatsoever. Now, souL, of course, very fond of playing that bio-based army. I mean, I would be surprised to see him playing mech, especially on this map, also because he doesn't really seem to play that all too often. Whenever I see players playing mech on this map, right, so if we talk strategy here for just a little bit, natural for Terran is easy to take, third is easy to take. You can also take this one as your third or that one as your fourth. But basically, the first 4 bases are relatively easy to take. The problem is, if you play Terran mech, it's very difficult to secure this one, because if you decide to commit a lot of units over in this area of the map, Zerg will just simply hit you over here. And likewise, if you take the one all the way in the bottom right-hand corner, Zerg will go after this base over here instead. And essentially, it seems like the bases are kind of spread out, and it's difficult to expand towards a 5th base if you decide to go for that Terran mech army. So what that means usually is that you have one big shot on one big army, and if you don't beat the Zerg player with that force, you'll probably end up losing. So I would not be surprised at all, both because it's souL playing. I mean, souL seems to favor that bio-based army quite a bit, and then the map design, if this is going to be a bio mid-game here from the Terran player. Very standard follow-up here. Now look at that. The drone is hiding over at the 3rd base. This is one of those moves. Ooh, nice block as well on that gas geyser. This is one of those moves that Zerg players have become pretty confident with over the last couple of months. Basically, you want to go for that quick Zergling speed, but you also want to make sure that you can actually plant down a 3rd base while that Reaper is being a pain in the butt. Right now, he's going to be forced to send a 2nd drone, but look at that. souL is on point with that one as well. So definitely no expansion here anytime soon for the Zerg player. You can see double Queen has now been queued up instead. So he's going to go for the double inject and then 2 Queens as a follow-up. Actually, not going for the tumor here in the natural right away is pretty clever, because without the 3rd base, he'd be floating quite a lot of money here when these injects pop off. So Overlords are coming up. He's going to be able to continue droning here relatively easily, but this is already a nice, mostly mental victory right here for souL. He has successfully thrown off the Zerg player off of their build order, and while obviously someone of the caliber of Elazer is not going to be too bothered by it, it's just a little bit annoying, right? It's a bit of a nuisance. Now, link speed is going to finish up here shortly, and I think with that, the 3rd base will be acquired regardless. I mean, there's 4 queens out right now as well, so shouldn't really be the end of the world. The 4 links, though, rather than going after that Reaper, they have decided to run around the map instead. souL does have a couple of Hellions here. Huh? I mean, getting any SCVs here would be quite nice. Yeah. I mean, if these Hellions were rallied onto the Reaper, this would have been really nice. I mean, this is still a good amount of lost mining time, though. And I think he actually ended up seeing... No, he actually just barely did not see that. But I mean, I did see the little green light right over there in that tech lab, and at this point in the game, that could only be a barracks. So this is already giving him pretty much all the information that he needs, right? Yeah, this is going to be some heavy bio follow-up. So rather than going straight into the starport here, the Terran player has decided to go only for a handful of Hellions, and now he's transitioning towards additional barracks here instead. So we do see the quick lair as a follow-up right now because of that from Elazer. Would not be surprised to see a Bailing Nest coming up here in a little bit as well. Or maybe... I feel like maybe if you want to go for such a quick lair, you probably also want to get Bailing speed really rapidly, right? I mean, he's seen the timing there on Stimpak. But, I guess he really wants to be going into double upgrades here and then maybe into Aspire? We'll see. We'll have a look here in a little bit. The thing is, right, so it makes sense if you see a really quick Stimpak to assume that your opponent wants to go for a push. But obviously, when you see a Stimpak that early on, it also automatically means that the starport is not out yet, right? So if the starport is not out yet, it does mean that, you know, technically speaking, Terran can go for a push, but they won't be able to retreat. And that's a bit of a gamble, especially if your creep spread is good. So Yeah, Baneling Nest does come up here, but the lair timing right now is a little bit strange, right? Could he not have gone double upgrades first and then a lair? Maybe he really wants to go for a Spire here right now as a follow-up. It's a little bit odd. It's a little bit odd. Anyway. Maybe he auto-timed or auto-piloted right there into the lair and then realized, wait a second. You know, you don't usually get this kind of scouting information. I'm pretty sure this is not going to be a push here anytime soon here from the Terran. Anyhow, it doesn't matter. All roads lead to Rome, aka all roads lead to Mutaling Bane, I suppose. I mean, it could go Hydraling Bane as well, but I would not be surprised at all to see Mutas here in just a little bit. In the meantime, on the side of the Terran player, we have now had that third base finish. So the third command center has already landed. Look at the amount of Marines actually at this point already. So we're already up to 15 Marines, and he's pumping them out 5 at a time. Stimpack is done. Combat Shield and +1 infantry weapons are going to finish up right around the same time, together with the +1 armor upgrades as well for these biological units. But this is a very macro-focused game so far. Neither player really committing to anything too crazy just yet. He's actually... So he's going macro hedge, he's going 4th base, he's just making drones. He's just going +1/+1 upgrades, and then he's mining off of 5 gases. Okay, it is going to be a Hydra then. Alright. I was going to say, like, where are you going to be spending your gas? But I think it's going to be Hydra then maybe into a Hive. Like, quick +2/+2 upgrade, Hive, and then into Lurkers? I'm not sure. We'll see in just a little bit. Here's that little push from souL, though. I mean, this is a relatively small squad of units. Does get like 5 or 6 creep tumors there, which is really neat. Bailing speed, though, is finishing up in about 5 seconds. So that's going to be all you really need to deal with this. Now, if you can get a couple more creep tumors, yeah, I don't mind it at all. Assuming you don't just lose this entire army. There's a couple siege tanks now coming in as well. Actually, you know what? I think souL wants to commit pretty heavily to this push. A couple of Zerglings are already going in for the run-by, though. And these links are going to be a pain in the butt to deal with because you need to micro 2 fronts at once. Alrighty. Without Mutas, this is going to be a pretty difficult force to overwhelm. I guess he's just going to go straight through the center. Nice target firing right there on those siege tanks. Marines in the same, or Zerglings rather at the same time, have been cleaned up by Marines. A couple of them decide to run around. Okay, one siege tank there dealing a lot of friendly fire, but it looks like Elazer is going to have to give up this expansion. Okay, so I didn't think that this was going to be the most successful push ever. But because of the odd tech route right here from Elazer, it's actually done quite a bit of work. This timing is also a little bit strange though, right? So normally we see a standard 1-1-1 or like a 16 Marine drop. But right now we saw a quick 3rd command center with a late starport and then a very quick 2nd and 3rd barracks. This is one of those builds that's relatively uncommon. I've seen it a couple of times right now. Haven't really faced off against it on the ladder, but maybe it just threw Elazer off just a tad. Anyways, he didn't really lose that much, right? He kept most of the drones alive, already secured another base in the top left-hand corner. Right now, though, man, look at this positioning right here on those siege tanks. Yeah, that spawning pool is in a little bit of trouble. Now, keep in mind, this entire army here from the Zerg player is literally just, I mean, Ling, Bane, and then Hydra, right? So the Lings and the Banes, obviously, are the big damage dealer. Nice pickup right there, just barely in time. We did have a bit of an attempted Baneling run by there as well. So while this is all going on, it looks like souL is also defending perfectly at home. Losing a couple of SCVs, but really nothing too critical. There's still a couple of Banes over there, but... looks like he's doing a good enough job right now, just dealing with all of these Zerg units. Alrighty. Sometimes it feels like these Terran players like flip the switch at some point, you know? They're like, okay, I've got my eco, let's go. And they put their foot down and they just go on the gas. And they just accelerate, man. Right? Here's where the relentless multitasking really starts taking shape. And this is what these top-level Terran players have gotten really, really good at. Well, I say that. That's the caster curse, right? I say that, and 20 Marines or so ended up dying to a couple Banelings. Like, on paper, this is a really good way to play, but it's also one of the hardest ways to play StarCraft, right? Now, reinforcing Terran units, though, are rallied right here to the 3rd. So I think that souL is going to be able to deflect that little hit squad of Zerg units quite easily. Alrighty. Now, while this is all going on, 4th command center was built as well. He's already going into the +3/+3. It looks like actually the +2 carapace there was either delayed or forgotten there by Elazer, who's now forced to go into the +1 missile, and then I guess a Hive in just a little bit. Not the greatest situation to be in. Usually whenever you play this Hydraling Bane style, you really want to make sure you lose as little as possible, because this is not an army that's going to trade particularly well off creep, right? This is one of those armies that will trade inefficiently, so you rely on your superior economy to, you know, be able to actually deal some damage to your opponent, and then to just simply remax, right? Usually you want to put on some pressure, for example, on this 4th base, but looks like that is not going to be an option here at all. Second spawning pool. Well, actually, no, it's going to be the infestation pit instead. Hive does start up, so that's good. He doesn't really need another infestation pit, although he might decide to remake it here regardless. Lurker Den is coming up as well here for the Zerg player. And, I mean, as long as he starts up the Hive, I guess it's fine. I think that this is going to be a Hydra Lurker Viper-based unit composition that will probably be supported with Lings and Banes. Really powerful, of course. We've seen Raynor play this style quite a bit. Terran players are getting better at it, though. Like, initially it seemed kind of broken because Terran players didn't really know how to play against it, but these days people have gotten really good. Yeah, so Bjorn recently decided to just stick on Marine Marauder Medivec. Casted a game where he went up against Solar a couple days ago. I'll go ahead and post a link to that down below in the description of this video in case you want to see his approach. Because it is a little bit different, at least as far as it appears, yeah. It is a little bit different than the way that souL is playing this. So souL is already going into the Ghost Academy right now, and he's getting the cloaking upgrade as well for the Ghosts. It seemed like Bjorn just simply wanted to like headbutt and just do insane multitasking and just try and pull the opponent apart, whereas souL is going to go more on like the head-on approach right now. I mean, he's still doing a lot of drop harassment, but it seems like Ghosts are just better at trading efficiently. Now, there is a potential right now for a timing attack, though, because 3-3 is finishing up here. Terran has got a very significant advantage. Zerg is right now investing into Hive Tech upgrades as well, so they don't have, you know, their value out of that research yet. I wouldn't mind seeing a bit of a bigger push right here from souL, though. Yeah, these little hit squads, I mean, it's doing quite well, but these are still not the best trades here for the Zerg. So, Bjorn went for a very, very heavy focus on... my god, this is so relentless. Bjorn went for a very heavy focus on Marauders at this point in particular. Looks like it's going to be Liberator, Siege Tank, and then Marine. And I guess there's a follow-up Ghost here in just a little bit. I almost don't want to open up the Resources Lost tab, man. Yeah, look at this. Zerg has already lost so much more here than the Terran player. And keep in mind, this is the Zerg player barely ever going for any kind of fighting on the other side of the map. Now, getting a medevac or two here would be neat. Alrighty. Let's have a look. 4 Ghosts are coming up. I want to see some nukes as well, man. Now, this is, by the way, when the game gets awkward for Terran, right? So keep in mind what I said earlier. Securing a 5th at this point is really tricky. There's a Zergling over here in the bottom right-hand corner scouting this one out. It looks like souL wanted to go for a base over here, but he decided better of it. So he's now flying that command center all the way on over towards the bottom right-hand corner instead. Feels to me like he could just fly this one instead, but... yeah, this is now creating a lot of room at the very least for Elazer to now secure his own 5th base. Or actually, his 6th base right now. Terrans always want to be, you know, at most like 1 base behind on Zerg. Like, Zerg sometimes gets like 3 bases up more than the Terran, and that's just an absolute disaster to have to deal with. By the way, nukes are coming up, which I do like the idea of that. But yeah, you gotta be very careful here if you're a Terran player, that you don't give the Zerg player too much wiggle room. But this is certainly now a bit of a change of pace. So small little hit squad once again moves out. Liberator over there trying to deal some damage. Liberator over at the 3rd base will be picked off. Couple queens here, okay. Undefended. Couple creep tumors as well will be picked off. This is mostly just the comp before the storm, though. So the nice thing about getting Ghosts is that you can take on head-on fights against Lurkers. So the way that Ghosts work is that they have an ability called Steady Targeting. And the Steady Targeting basically means that they can deal a lot of damage to another unit after about a second or two. I don't know what the exact timer is. But if they take any damage while it's channeling, that ability is cancelled. So they're really good against Lurkers. But they do need a little bit of, you know, a little bit of time to get that spell off. Now, this, for some reason, worked out just barely there. Elazer, for some reason, had that Overseer over there, but it just didn't see this Ghost. Here we go. Nuke number 1 is floating across the screen. Alrighty. So let us have a look. Is this one gonna connect? Now, nice spotting right there by Elazer. He does realize at what base it is located. You want to know one little pro tip, by the way, on how you can spot these a little bit easier? I made the rookie mistake once upon a time. I was struggling against nukes, right? And this is like such a dumb thing, but I was struggling against nukes. Turns out, now that was a little splash right over there in the water. Turns out if you play with the red colors, which I like to do at the time, it was extremely difficult to spot the little red dot. So just changing colors from red made it much easier. Also a problem that I had with nukes in the past, and by the way, there's multiples now coming up. Another problem that I had with nukes in the past is that, I was playing with the Korean announcer pack just for fun. Now, obviously, when you're a Zerg, right, and a nuke gets detected, you hear like, tactical nuke detected, or something along those lines, right? I didn't know what the Korean voice lines sounded like. I know that these are really dumb things of me to admit, but yep, playing with the red colors and playing with an English announcer, or an announcer that you can understand is, or not playing with the red colors, rather, is a pretty good idea, man. Can recommend. Anyhow, this is where the Zerg can start putting on a little bit of pressure. Can they, though? I mean, I say that. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, Liberators right now gonna be able to shoot away at these lurkers quite well. There's not a nuke right now making its way through the screen all the way towards the other side of the map. Although this one will not land. Don't know how that works. Oh my god, is that a ghost? Whoa! Look at the gun! I'm the best cameraman in all of StarCraft. Step aside, Mapu. And whoever, you know, observes the GSL. I have no idea how that gun was floating, but it's okay. It doesn't matter. Apparently gravity on this planet is not quite the same as we experience it right here on Earth. Maybe this map is underwater after all. Ooh. That's one ghost ready to launch a nuke. Then he decided better of it. Look at this, man. Look at this camera work. Well, that's a thumbs up right there. That's a thumbs up on the video right there, wasn't it? Pretty sure. If that wasn't enough, I'll show you the next one, okay? The next one is going to be a thumbs up, for sure. I mean, I'm assuming there's going to be another nuke anyway. Man, look at the amount of stuff here available right now for the Terran player. Nice harpooning right there, though, on those Liberators. Or, sorry, yeah, on those Liberators. The Vipers being very helpful. Reinforcing Terran units, though, do show up. Look at the amount of ghosts at this point. Wow, we're talking 18 ghosts and 7 Marines? Okay, then. It's a lot of ghosts. Now, the main weakness that ghosts have, obviously, is the Baneling, right? So Ling Bane is usually very good against ghosts. The only problem is that if you actually want to connect with those units, it's very difficult because there'll probably be siege tanks and Liberators and whatnot shooting at your Banes. And these guys are not particularly weak, right? They require a couple of Banes to actually, you know, get blown up. Okay, here's not an... Oh, look at this one. Whoa! Woo! Have you ever seen something that epic before? And thumbs up. That's it, right? That's it. I mean, this one is just clearing up a little bit of creep. This is the most expensive janitor I've ever seen. Literally at the cost of a tactical nuke. He's just clearing out part of the planet. Don't know if that's the best way to get rid of it. I feel like a scan would have sufficed. Although, truth be told, a nuke is 100 minerals, 100 gas. A scan, obviously, is at the cost of a mule. Speaking of devil. These mules are about like 380 or so minerals, is that they can mine. So if you have more gas than minerals, like the ratio right here, makes actually kind of, If you can kill like 3 creep tumors with 1 nuke, it's probably worthwhile. Not sure though. Okay. Next nuke is all the way in the top right-hand corner. This is being spotted right now by Elazer. I mean, that's a super difficult one. He's actually targeting it right there perfectly on that 1 creep tumor. That means that Branda right there and the spine crawlers and the spore crawlers are not going to have an easy time spotting it. Another nuke. Oh my god. Oh, hello, 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 kill it. Okay, that was close. Yeah, I don't know how that works. Apparently, they need constant connections or something in order to deal with it. I think a couple of SCVs, by the way, were blown up in the bottom left-hand corner. I don't know why the ghost doesn't land its nuke while it's already reported. Like, I'm not sure why it needs to channel it in the first place. Like, what's the point? Anyhow, this is important. So the way that Elazer is playing this right now, right? If we talk big picture here for a little bit. Elazer wants to prevent... Parasitic bombs. Really nice. He wants to prevent this Terran player from going past the 6 base mark. So basically... Now, that's some good splitting, actually. Nice. So basically what he's trying to do... Basically. Haha. Good one, Lowko. He basically wants to prevent the Terran player right now from getting this base up. And he might even consider mining it himself if he can get there. The problem is that in the Zerg late game, it's very difficult to trade efficiently with Terran, so usually you're better off mining an extra base. At this point, we have a near split map scenario where the Zerg is leading this with 1 base, right? So Zerg is getting 1 entire base of additional income. If you take into account the fact that Zerg doesn't trade efficiently, if he can mine out that full base, it's gonna be fine, assuming that the Terran player can't mine his side, right? If this base, however, is secured here by the Terran player, obviously resources are gonna be even, and knowing what we now know, with the traits that are efficiently in favor of the Terran, yeah, he's going to be in a good spot. So it's super critical right now for the Terran player to yeah, get this base up and running. That's one of his main win conditions. Now, a really big nuke inside of the main base. Brenda over here, man. Look at her. She's just hugging her hatchery. That's one of the saddest moments I've ever seen in StarCraft right there. She was just running for her life. She realized that she was the target of a nuke there. But apparently she didn't notice it in time. She was old, okay? She was getting old and senile. I can't, you know, can't tell you anymore. She's like 20 minutes old at this point. She was born 20 minutes ago. In the top right-hand corner of Jagannatha. Did I nail it again? I feel like I did. Alright, so this is where Elazer apparently attacks the hatchery right there with a couple of these SCVs. Elazer knows that this is a super difficult position for him to be in. So either he takes down this base or he takes down another one. This one is already kind of mined out though. Look at how well this is positioned as well, right? Like you can push into this. But it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be very difficult. Now both players obviously still, well, pretty much for all intents and purposes maxed out, and both with really good banks as well. But securing this expansion over here is super critical for souL. I think Elazer needs to try and get something done there. So that's not a nuke. Don't know exactly how many nukes we've had so far in the game, but it's been quite a few. Ugh. Okay. One cheeky little boy right over there. This is kind of curious at this point, though. The fact that Terran right now is pushing this side of the map is mostly just creating a distraction for that base to be acquired, right? And that's exactly what's going on right now. Nuke over there, I mean, not really putting a lot of, you know, pressure on the Zerg, but it's putting pressure in the attention that the Zerg has to spend in order to deal with all of this, right? So this guy is not even getting that many kills, but it's forcing the Zerg player to, like, frantically look around the map and figure out where that tactical nuke is located. And, I mean, at this point, the bottom left-hand corner has been acquired by the Terran player, and Terran even gets the base over there. The way that you win right now as Zerg is by trading efficiently. Now, what's your most efficient army here as Zerg? I don't know, man. I would probably say Hydra Lurker Viper. The problem is that Ghosts, okay, so Ghosts have a couple good spells, right? First off, they have that nuke, obviously. Secondly, they have the steady targeting that I discussed earlier. But lastly, they also have EMP. So the Ghost, in a way, is the perfect unit to deal with late-game Zerg. Because it can EMP, you know, Vipers and Infestors. It can snipe or steady target, I guess, the Lurkers, the Brute Lords, and the Ultralisks. And at that point, I mean, I guess it's mostly Hydroling Bane again, right? That you want to be going for if your opponent is going heavily focused on those Ghosts. The problem is that Hydroling Bane is not particularly good against those, like, Planetaries. Your best bet against Planetaries is going to be Lurkers, I guess, or maybe Brute Lords. But I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. So there are 13 Brute Lords out at this point. I think this may have been spotted by the Terran player because he was making a bunch of Vikings. He's currently got 10 Vikings, and how many Ghosts? 21 Ghosts. Yeah, Ghosts are insane, man. They're so powerful. Beautiful game so far here by souL. Securing this side of the map, super critical. And right now, even adding on some missile turrets over here, Zerg is not going to break this. Okay, so what do you do right now if you're the Terran? I think your main goal is just to mine out. If you can mine out all of these mineral patches and all of the gas geysers, you'll probably be okay. Nukes are relatively cheap, relatively affordable. And once again, Zerg is going to be forced to back off. Parasitic bombs, though, do get utilized. Nice splits over there as well. Ooh. Okay. A couple of Brute Lords have gone down so far in this game. Ghost once again steps forward. And he's going to be able to force this army to back off if he's noticing it, right? It's very difficult to see. Yeah, he does notice it. But he's backing off right now once again. Sometimes I wonder if Zerg is missing some sort of late game tool. Like I'm looking at this right now and I'm trying to think, what does Zerg do at this point? I'm actually not sure. I'm kind of lost as far as like this sort of thing goes. It seems that the way that, like, for example, souL and Raynor win right now against this kind of thing is by simply not allowing Terran to get a 5th base. So essentially their entire strategy relies on never getting the Terran to this state in the first place, because once they get there, it seems very difficult. Like, all these trades over here, right? Doesn't look bad, but, like, believe it or not, Banelings are pretty expensive. I mean, it takes a lot of Banelings to kill, like, a Siege Tank or a Marauder, right? So even if you trade right there, it's still going to be a pretty good trade there for the Terran, all things considered. Okay, another nuke is now being utilized once again. Nukes are being thrown all over the map right now, man. He's sprinkling them pretty much anywhere. So this is the first one. This one should also be picked up. Don't nuke your own units. Okay, nice. Nuke number 1, lands. Nuke number 2, on the tech, lands. Nuke number 3 will also land right over here. So many nukes have been utilized in this game so far. Brilliant play here by souL. Once again, snipes this base, and this is almost the only mining base right now for the Zerg. Look at this. Zerg is making a bit of a move towards that base over on the left-hand side, and immediately you see those ghosts running, man. They're like, okay, let's go. Time to snipe them out of the sky. Nicely done. Alright, so neural parasites are going to be utilized here as well. I guess with good EMPs, this should be shut down, but obviously, you know, it still is a skill. Once again, a couple nukes are being utilized as well. Oh man, this is slowing down the Zerg player ever so slightly. The nukes over here are actually kind of a pain though. Yeah. That's the Lurker Den gone, and I wouldn't be surprised to see another nuke being utilized here on those 2 spires in just a second. Base over on the top right-hand corner, or in the top right-hand corner rather, will now actually go in favor of the Terran as well. Okay, so let's zoom out for a little bit, right? What are we talking about at this point? Terran has now got the economical upper hand. However, Zerg does still have a near maxed out army, and he does also have enough to remax once more. He doesn't have a lot of drones anymore. That does mean that he's not going to be able to get a lot of income, but at the same time, it also means that he's going to be able to spend a lot of his supply on army units, right? So he's got Hydra, Lurker, Viper, together with Corruptor, Brute Lord, Queen, and then some Ling Bane sprinkled in there too. That's almost half of the Zerg supply. Or, sorry, like half of the Zerg's units in general. The problem here is that if you land, like for the Terran player, right? The problem is that if there's like good fungal growths, so say 1 fungal growth right now on the ghosts, that's basically gonna be game. Now here come the ghosts. Snipes are being utilized, there we go. A couple of brutes just fall out of the sky just like that. An EMP as a follow-up as well is gonna force Elazer to back off, and then a nuke apparently to drive it home. You get off of my base. Oh my god, that's a brave move. It worked out there, but that was certainly a dangerous move. Now, this base here on the right-hand side is now souL's. Terran already trades more efficiently at this stage in the game. If they have like an extra base up on the Zergs, this becomes a problem. It's a huge problem here for souL. Or for Elazer, rather. Good harpooning once again, grabs a couple of those Liberators. The Infestors from the high ground cannot quite reach there with a fungal growth. Planetary, though, is gone. So that's nice. The Brute Lords do deal quite a bit of damage there. A couple of ghosts right now, once again, going around. There's 1 nuke over here on the rocks, and then 1 nuke over there on the only mining base right now of Elazer. Does Elazer notice it? That's such a weird position for the ghost to be in. He doesn't see it. And that's 18 drones down the drain. Beautiful multitasking here by the Terran player, though. Fighting on the right-hand side of the map, continuously pushing forward. But yeah, just to come back on what I was talking about earlier, it seems like players like, for example, souL, Rogue, Dark, those guys are pretty much all ending the game before it can ever get to this stage, right? Be it with a win or with a loss, they will go all out on the assault on the 4th or sometimes the 5th base. It does seem a little bit shitty, though, for that to be the default playstyle, right? If that's, like, your main goal, to try and end it before it can get there. But, I mean, I guess we had a similar thing in the past, right? Like, when the tables were turned, Terran was struggling very, very heavily against Broodlord Infestor. And Broodlord Infestor at the time was basically something that you couldn't let the Zerg players get to, because once they get there, it's basically game over. And, I mean, even though, I mean, this might not necessarily be ideal either, I guess it's the Terran's time to shine in the late game. Alright. This is the moment, though, where Elazer decides to commit. The Spore Crawlers are joining in the fray as well. There is a Ghost right over here that's utilizing its nuke. Is it spotted? It is spotted. It will be abducted, and therefore the nuke will be cancelled as well. This is now all of a sudden a really big push right here for the Zerg player. How many Corruptors are there still? There's like 11 Corruptors in here. Okay, there's quite a few. Plus, obviously, there's Fungal Growth as well as those Vipers with their abilities. So this is now all of a sudden really quite neat here for the Zerg. At the same time, Terran's going for a big push all the way in the top right-hand corner. Another nuke now being utilized as well on those Spore Crawlers. Reinforcing Zerg units apparently are now leading towards the main base. And it looks like, at the very least, that army will be pushed back. At the same time, though, the Terran now also successfully forces some of these Zerg units right now to back off. Another nuke right now. Constantly used right here to, like, to zone away these Zerg units, right? I love it. I didn't actually ever anticipate those nukes to be utilized like this all those years ago when StarCraft 2 first came out, but it makes a lot of sense. At this level, the chances that you're gonna end a, or you're gonna land a game-ending nuke are, yeah, pretty much 0 to none. Oh, that's not very common. So using them for zoning purposes is really neat. So I love this. Elazer right now taking a step back on this map, and he's gonna be able to grab this expansion over here. Now, a new lair is being acquired by Elazer because he really needs to grab himself some sort of tech. I mean, he ended up losing his hive inside of the main base. Hydra Den right now being target fired down as well. Beautiful neural parasites. Elazer seems to be pulling a rabbit out of a hat right now. He's leading in the supply count here. He's still got a pretty good amount of resources as well. Does lose the Hydra Den, so he might need to replace that. But he once again now opens up the opportunity for a new base here on the left-hand side. Broodlords and Corruptors, though, not done advancing just yet. Is Elazer doing this? I mean, there's a lot of ghosts still available. I'm a little bit... There's 28 freaking ghosts in this game. Are you kidding? Anyways, I'm a little bit concerned that there's going to be, like, one really big set of snipes, and there they are! Ooh, this is going to be enough. Ooh, a couple of the Broodlords, indeed, do get popped out of the sky. Reinforcing Vikings right now join in the fray as well. Ghosts coming in from the side, setting up a bit of an arc. Corruptors now also trying to do their part in this battle. Target firing down as many of these Vikings as possible. And as those Corruptors, like, they're going down, right? Like, the numbers are plummeting. All of a sudden, the Liberators and the Vikings have free reign of the skies. A couple of reinforcing Hydras right now join in as well. Is there going to be enough right now for the Terran player to hold on? I mean, he still has a massive bank, right? Look at the resources that are remaining at this point. Zerg has just spent his piggy bank. Terran still has more than 10,000 resources here in the tank. All he needs is a little bit of time. If he can remax, once again, he's going to be okay. And obviously, Terran does not remax nearly as quickly as Zerg players can. Ooh, what a crazy battle. Beautiful game right here by both players. Ooh, Marines, back on the menu. We didn't see a lot of Marines here for a while. They're technically not that great against those Broodlords, but they're not poor either. Alright. Alright. So, Zerg did, in the meantime, secure this hatchery over here. Terran's now mining out the final minerals on his side. Pretty sure these other bases are going to be pretty much empty. There's a couple of near-empty mineral patches, but that's about it. There's a lot of idle SCVs, actually. 25 of them in total right now, but I feel like you can get rid of most of these. And just remax on pure army, man. Are there still nukes available? Well, he's making 3 of them. Okay. Yeah, so Elazer is probably crossing his fingers right now and hoping that Terran is not going to be able to remax. Obviously, he doesn't know how much money this Terran player has at this point. That was a beautiful engagement for him, but if he gives this Terran any more time, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. Now, fungal growth. Ugh, just barely missed right there, and with that, the GG is called. souL obtains the victory. Now, real quick, before I close out this video, I just wanted to notify you all that new merchandise is available. So if you want to support the channel and if you want to support me directly, head on over to LowkoTV/merch. There's new Holidays 2020 merch available as of today. So go ahead and have a look on that website in case you're interested. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an awesome day. Don't forget to smile, and I'll see you once again in the next one.